This PR firm offered us a sneak peek at footage of the exciting Greenland TV series that was coming from Dr. Phil. And what they offered us, this footage, turned out to be footage in Greenland of an American guy talking about his plans to drill for oil in Greenland. After those remarks in eastern Greenland, the company later apologized and said, actually, they didn't have permits to do that. They put out a statement sort of correcting the record, saying, quote, our enthusiasm for the project led us to communicate in a way that created confusion. So forget we said that. What really created confusion locally was when this happened. This is a picture of a tugboat bringing in a barge to that area of eastern Greenland. And the barge appears to contain about this Trump-aligned oil company based in Texas saying, we're going to drill for oil in Greenland. Greenland saying, oh, no, you're not. The company going ahead and dropping off their drilling stuff anyway.
An American oil company is facing serious questions over its attempt to launch a drilling project in Greenland, despite Greenland's government reportedly saying that the company does not have permission to begin the operation. The controversy involves a Texas-based company called Greenland Energy, several shipping containers that were reportedly brought ashore, opposition from local residents, and a warning that Greenlandic police or even Denmark's Arctic Command could intervene if the company violates local law. The story reached Rachel Maddow's show through an extremely unusual source. A public relations firm reportedly sent Rachel's team promotional footage for a new Dr. Phil television project about Greenland. But instead of creating positive publicity, that footage appears to have raised questions about whether the oil company was claiming to have legal authorization that it had not actually received.
8 weeks ago, and it was a totally unsolicited, totally over-the-top PR pitch, offering me an embargoed, confidential sneak peek at a new project from Dr. Phil. This is part of the pitch. Dr. Phil is going to Greenland. Might I be interested? Might the Rachel Maddow Show be interested in covering Dr. Phil's new TV show about Greenland? This PR firm offered us
This was supposed to be a promotional opportunity. The public relations company apparently believed Rachel Maddow's show might help generate attention for Dr. Phil's Greenland project. Instead, the footage gave Rachel's team a reason to investigate the oil operation itself. That distinction is important because promotional television and independent journalism have completely different purposes. Promotional material is designed to make a project appear interesting, successful, and exciting. Journalism must ask whether the project is legal, whether government approval exists, and how the people living in the affected area feel about it. The footage reportedly showed an American representative speaking confidently about future drilling. But Greenland had already adopted a moratorium on future oil exploration, making the claim extremely difficult to understand without proof of special authorization.
That's why we're here to reposition the road building equipment.
You think it's going to be drilling us next year?
Know it, for a fact. For a fact.
You know, I guess it's a lot of drill projects around here.
The guy they're explaining this to, yeah, as a fact, we're definitely going to be drilling next year. The guy they're explaining this to appears to say, you know, this is unlawful.
Listen carefully to the level of certainty in that conversation. The representative does not say that the company hopes to begin drilling or that it is waiting for final approval. He appears to say that drilling will begin next year for a fact. But another person in the conversation appears to challenge that claim and may be saying that the proposed activity is unlawful. Because the audio is unclear, that particular sentence should not be treated as a confirmed quotation. Even without relying on that disputed sentence, the company's confidence raises an obvious question. What legal authorization supported such a definite promise? A company can have investors, equipment, financing, and an ambitious schedule. None of those things replace government permission. If the required permits had not been issued, announcing that drilling was certain would give local residents and potential investors a misleading picture of the project's actual status.
Where these guys want to drill, and they announced to the villagers there that this company, this Texas company, had permission. They announced that they have permission. They had secured the legal right to start bringing their equipment, their oil drilling equipment, to this untouched Arctic area of Greenland. After those remarks in eastern Greenland, the company later apologized and said actually they didn't have permits to do that. They put out a statement sort of correcting the record, saying, quote, "Our enthusiasm for the project led us to communicate in a way that created..."
This is where the company's earlier certainty begins to fall apart. According to Rachel's reporting, representatives arrived in eastern Greenland and told local villagers that the company had secured the legal right to bring drilling equipment into the area. The company subsequently acknowledged that it did not have the necessary permits. Its explanation was that enthusiasm for the project caused it to communicate in a way that created confusion. But this does not sound like a small misunderstanding. There is a major difference between saying that an application is moving forward and telling people that legal permission has already been secured. Residents deserve clear and accurate information, especially when a foreign company is discussing industrial development in a largely untouched Arctic environment. The company should publicly identify every permit it possesses, every approval still outstanding, and exactly what activity it believes it is currently authorized to conduct.
A Danish investigative outlet called Danwatch. They show this tugboat and this barge arriving, full, totally loaded, on the night of Wednesday, July 29th. Then, the same tugboat and the same barge are seen leaving that same place the next morning, except this time empty. Because all of those shipping containers, all of that equipment that was on the barge heading in, they apparently left all that stuff on land.
This is the visual evidence that transformed a dispute over words into a dispute over actions. Photographs reportedly show a tugboat bringing a barge carrying approximately 12 to 15 shipping containers into the area. The same barge was then reportedly seen departing the following morning without those containers. The images strongly suggest that the cargo was unloaded, although the photographs alone do not establish exactly what was inside every container. That is an important distinction. We should not claim more than the available evidence proves. However, if Greenland's government had explicitly prohibited the company from unloading material, the company must explain what was delivered, where it was placed, and who authorized the delivery.
Whatsoever.
Until those questions are answered, the arrival of this equipment will continue to look like an attempt to move the operation forward before the legal dispute has been resolved.
Dropping off all that material, the minister in charge of mineral resources from the Greenland government did a local interview in Greenland in which he said he was sure, he was absolutely sure, this American oil company would never break the law.
Greenland's position appears to be completely unambiguous. According to this report, the American company did not have permission to unload anything in the country. That makes the images of the departing empty barge even more significant. If the containers were placed on shore, the issue is no longer simply a disagreement about future drilling rights. It may involve an action that occurred after the government had already made its restrictions clear. At this stage, the company needs to produce documentary evidence showing who authorized the delivery. Without that evidence, the government's statement and the company's apparent actions are in direct conflict.